and we are recording on Zoom. So if there's any problems, then that will be taken care of. And I have no idea what Stream Live is doing.
It's always a mystery.
So what one stream is doing is what I mean. Yeah, I have no idea what one stream is doing. But hello, everybody. If you are live and you see Dionne faff about, because sometimes she's on the board and the next time she isn't, she's giving you a direct example of what menopause can be like at any age one enters it. So I'm getting a no from one stream. I'm just going to click on Facebook to see if I get a yes. Are you on my Facebook profile? Is that where you're seeing it live?
Oh, no, I just see it up in the corner of my screen. It just says live Facebook. So I'm not on Facebook right now.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. So I can see that we are live on Facebook. So that's good. Hi, everybody. And quick share into copy link, quick share into my group. So that I'm not wasting your time. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Dionne. Today, I have special guest, Ginger Burr. And there's something about Ginger that I've always wanted to ask her before we delve into it. Are you a natural redhead?
I am, yes. Although, yes, I was born a redhead. Right now, I do color it. So if I didn't color it, I would be completely white at this point. But I have a really great hairstylist who can get my hair pretty much to my natural color. So yes, I've always been a redhead.
Wow.
I'm English and Scottish. So, there you go.
And the reason I've always wanted to ask you that is simply because of your name.
So that's why I was named Ginger.
It is. Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. And was that your mother or your father that did that?
Well, my full name is Virginia, and I was going to be Ginny. And then I was born with a full head of red hair. And so they thought, well, she can't be Ginny. She has to be Ginger. So, yeah, it just happened immediately, apparently. So, yeah.
I love that.
And neither of my parents has red hair. It's all from my grandmother, that kind of thing.
Yeah, generations back, your ancestral lineage. That is wonderful. I love that. I hope you don't mind me starting with that while we were getting ready.
I love talking about being a ginger.
I love it. I love it. It's beautiful. And today, everybody, Ginger is an image consultant, fashion stylist. And as you can see, me asking about her red hair and the color she wears, which is really warm. And just by looking at her, you might feel that warmth. If you are in the UK experiencing snow right now, when we are 2 weeks away from our spring. So that warmth that you're feeling and you're seeing on our screen is coming to you live. As I was saying, Ginger Burr, as I was introducing her, she's the founder of Total Image Consultants. She has a heartfelt belief that whether you are 25 or 85, you deserve to feel radiant and pulled together every time you get dressed. That's every morning, regardless of whether you're wearing a onesie or whether you're dressing for the office. She's an author of an amazing book that's called That's So You Can Create a Look You Love with Beauty, Style, and Grace. And you can get that over at Amazon. She's been featured in Allure, Worth, and Forbes magazine, and Bloomberg Business Week. I'm not sure we have that in the UK here, but there are all brilliant, amazing publications. And I'd just like to say, welcome, Ginger, before we start and delve into this conversation.
Oh, thank you, Dionne. I'm really excited to be here. So thank you for that lovely introduction.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm really glad you are here today. Thank you. So as you know, my audience is mostly menopausal women. And as you can see, I kind of went into it a bit young. So it does range from 40 upwards, while some even 35 upwards. And therefore, talking about the color of what you're wearing, we would call that autumn, the autumn colors, to match your coloring in your hair. When women who often do the work before they enter their menopause, and when I say the work, I'm talking about working with their cycle, working with their period cycle. And so when I say these seasons, they know what I mean when I say, oh, I'm in my summer, I'm in my autumn, I'm in my winter. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because when we reach menopause, we are still in cycles. There is perimenopause, there's menopause itself, and then there's postmenopause. And now, as the conversation is getting wider and wider, we're able to recognize and honor the fourth. The fourth season is that stage where one is medically, one would say one is postmenopause simply because they haven't had a period for 12 months. However, they are still experiencing very high other elements, such as hot flushes, sleepless nights. And therefore, although they are in their summer postmenopause, they are still in their winter in reference to experiencing lots of, I like to call them ailments rather than symptoms, high degree of them, and therefore they are between the seasons of winter and summer. So when you are faced with a woman who is in one phase of her life but still extremely experiencing symptoms of the other, and therefore don't know what to dress for or how to balance those two extremes of her life and her health and her condition, what would you advise her to be the best thing to do?
The majority of my clients are perimenopausal and above. I do have some clients who are younger, but the majority of my clients are dealing with all of the things that you just, or some variation of what you just mentioned in one stage or another. And it really confuses things a lot. I mean, first of all, I know you're in the UK, I'm in the States, but we both live in climates where it's somewhat wacky in terms of our weather. We don't know if it's going to snow or be cold or rain or be hot or sunny or humid or dry, there's so many different variations just with our weather alone. And then you add into that things like hot flashes, and it can be crazy making. There's no doubt about it. So, and as you know, when someone goes into menopause, even if they don't gain weight, because there is a lot of belief that as you go into menopause, you gain weight. I haven't seen that to be true for everyone, of course, but things shift almost always. Even if your weight doesn't change, your body shifts. And when it does that, it gets even more confusing about what to wear, because what you used to wear no longer feels right on you. And so what I always recommend to women is go back to the basics. And I have three basics that you want to think about. And we can talk about these more, but I'll state them really quickly. One is, no matter what you're wearing, whether you're putting on a sweatshirt or a t-shirt or you're putting on layers, make sure your clothes are in beautiful, beautiful, beautiful colors for you. Because no matter what, color is going to make you feel better. Secondly, make sure your clothes fit you properly, and that can also affect fabric, because as you're going through hot flashes and things, you want things that don't feel too heavy, that don't hold the moisture in. You want things that wick moisture. Things like modal, it's a rayon-based fabric, can be awesome. And the third thing is, no matter what, you always want to maintain your own personality in your clothes. So sometimes what happens is when women don't know what to do with their bodies, they just throw things on, like, ugh, I don't know what to do. Let me just throw this on. At least it, fits me more or less, usually boxy, shapeless. And then they don't feel good because it's not really representing who they are. So I always tell them to go back to those places.
Well, let's talk about the word fitting. When you say make sure it fits you properly. So the reason I'm pointing this out, and I want to just extend and get some more information on this, is some women, and also because of let's call this fat shaming. Let's just say what it is. It's fat shaming. Some women don't want clothes that are clinging to their handles, clinging to their curves, because they don't want to be fat shamed. And whether they feel confident with their curves or not feel confident with their curves, some women don't want to do that. Other women are happy doing that and are happy to fight off any form of fat shaming that may come her way. So when you say make sure your clothes fit you properly, what do you mean by that? And can you give some examples?
Great question. And there are two parts to that. One is there's a third option between hugely oversized, boxy, shapeless, drowning in fabric, and things that are super clingy. There's clothes that just skim your body so that you're not necessarily seeing what's going on underneath, but you're also not becoming overwhelmed by too much fabric. So it's making sure that things just skim your body nicely. And also sometimes that also has to do with the weight of the fabric. Sometimes the fabrics these days have become so stretchy, thin that they cling no matter what. So I would say if that makes you uncomfortable, avoid those fabrics. Find something with a little more body in it so that it just floats over your body. And the other thing is, go ahead. Do you have a question?
Yeah, well, I was just saying that that sounds amazing. It sounds beautiful. I can actually visualize it. I can see it. But I also would add to that that you could also use fabrics that has a structure to it. So if you
Yes.
don't like the shape of your body, then a fabric that has structure can actually give you more of a definition of the shape you would like, perhaps.
Absolutely. I mean, something that, I mean, I sent right now, there are so many, I have clients who say, I need a tank top to go under something, but I don't want something clingy. And so many of them out there are clingy. So I'll do a search for like A-line tank tops because then it starts out, smaller and gets a little bit bigger. So anyone who has hips or a little tummy or anything like that, curves, basically just curves, which as women we usually do, um, it just glides over them and doesn't cling in the places where you don't want it to cling. So yes, or something that has a little waist definition to it or a structure built in can either accentuate or enhance your curves without clinging, or it can give you the illusion of curves if maybe you don't have any curves, because some women, as their bodies shift, their hips may still be smaller, but they sometimes have a tummy, and so they feel like they lose their waist. And so they're a little bit straighter body, but they want to give, because they used to have a waist, they like that feeling and they want to give the illusion of that. So something that can give that definition or the illusion of having a waist can also be great. And the other part of fitting is making sure, like what sleeve length is, the sleeve lengths that end right here, those balance nobody's body. They are not a good, I know people call them bracelet length, but they're not a good length. I can guarantee that. So you either want it longer or shorter. And necklines that are super high are sometimes tricky to wear. A V-neck, a scoop neck, flattering on almost everybody. So there are little things, knowing what length of top works for you. There's a tool that people can use if they want to. I'm happy to share what it is if that's helpful, but understanding like how long something should be so that it balances your body takes the guesswork out of figuring out whether or not something is too short or too long or just right.
That sounds good. That does sound good. Can you give me some examples in reference to what length or what style should a shorter woman wear to a taller woman? Say a woman who's over 5'8" to a woman who's between 4 foot to 5.5.
So it
In reference
really,
to waist, I mean, so that she feels comfortable around her midwidth. If
right.
somebody who is putting on weight.
Right. So this is where there's a particular tool out there that's really handy for women and takes all the guesswork out of it, because it's very personalized what length something should be for you. And it's called the Fashion Fit Formula. And I know there are people in the UK who do it. And I do it virtually as well, if that's helpful, but there are people in the UK who do it as well. It's called the Fashion Fit Formula. And what it does is you take 12 vertical measurements and it tells you exactly how long your top should be for your body. So you don't have to think, is this too short? Is this too long? It's automatic and it tells you your sleeve lengths, your neckline lengths, all those things. And that's what I think we need as women, because there are so many different variables when we get dressed.
Yes.
And if we can make something just absolute for us, hey, you know what? Then we don't have to try to guess. So that's a tool I use with all of my clients.
That sounds amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Really do appreciate it. So what do you think are the two biggest obstacles women face every morning when they wake up and open their closets / wardrobes?
One is too many clothes.
Yeah, I'm guilty.
Almost every woman is. And it's not always because someone loves fashion and just loves to shop. That can be one reason, but sometimes it's because they're on a continual search for things that make them feel great when they wear it. And they'll buy something and go, well, that didn't work, but I can't get rid of it because I spent money on it, or maybe someday it will work, those kinds of things. So it just sits in your closet. And when you open your closet and all you see is this sea of clothes, your eyes glaze over. You're like, I don't know, I can't deal with that. So you go back to the 10 or 20% that you always wear and you put those on. The second reason that I see a lot of is that you don't have complete outfits. So, oh, I love this top. Yay, pretty color, fits me nicely, whatever. Oh, I don't know what pants to wear. Or you get the whole outfit on. Ugh, those shoes look terrible with it. Now I can't wear this, so I have to change into something else. So making sure that you have absolute complete outfits, because the last thing you want to be doing if you're trying to head out the door is scramble or play in your closet to try to make outfits. Most of us don't have time for that on a daily basis. Or scramble to like, I don't know, maybe this will work, throw it on. Oh, that doesn't work. I have to wear it anyway, and leave the house feeling terrible. So those two things really keep women stuck a lot.
And why is it important to look good? No, because some women, especially like if we're not if we've never prioritized fashion and we've never been into fashion, and I'm saying that in quotation marks, then if somebody has that mindset, then they may also have the attitude of what we're talking about doesn't matter. It's not important. And therefore, I would like to, emphasize the why is it important? Why is it important to look good in our lives?
I love that.
Especially at that age.
And the whole reason actually I got into this industry, and I've been doing this for over 30 years, is because I didn't know how to dress myself. And when I finally learned how, and people can read about that story on my website if they want to, but when I finally learned how, I felt empowered. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can get dressed, I can look good, and then I don't have to think about it anymore. I can just go out and do what I need to do. I'm not worrying about whether something looks good or not. Now, you're also talking about a woman who maybe doesn't care as much and feels like it's not important. And so there's the whole thing about, for the women who are struggling and do think it's important to at least a certain degree, but don't know how, it can be a form of empowerment. For those who don't really care, if that's honestly true that they don't care, then they're fine. It doesn't really, to be honest with you, it doesn't really matter. If it's not impeding your life in any way. But a lot of times, go ahead, do you have a question?
Well, I was going to add to that. It's like, that's the caveat, but I'll let you continue and then I'll add to it.
Okay. So the thing is that how we look influences two things: how we're perceived by other people and how we feel about ourselves, our own level of self-confidence, which personally I think is the most important, because when we address that, then we draw in the people who are meant to talk to us, because we're exuding an energy that says, I feel good about myself. And so it really, that will automatically take care of the second part. So does that, and now what's your question that you have? Because we can go deeper into this for sure.
Well, my caveat to that is it's the effect it has on our lives, our lifestyles, how we are when we look fabulous, that is right for us.
Mm-hmm.
it can open up so many things in our life. It can heal challenges and problems we may be having in our lives, such as
Yeah.
at work, with our colleagues, with our bosses, if we're wanting that promotion, if we're not being heard in the boardroom, listened to by our line manager. It can change relationships. I'm going to go off topic here just a little bit, because it's just such a beautiful story. My goddaughter, for example, who was being bullied at school, and it was happening for some time, and we're into like the second year of this, for example. And I went to visit them, and they drove me back home, and I'd done a clear out of one of my closets, and I had all this stuff that was going to go on Vintage and eBay. And I had little bags for possible friends, things that was like so pristine new, that I had such like warmth of memories towards those items, that I didn't want to sell them. Money wasn't the thing I wanted to give them to people that were important to me. And I took out this bag and I placed it on the bed, and I went, choose whatever you want. And she gave us a fashion show. We had a fashion show for about an hour, dressing up in lots of different styles. She went to school that following Monday with one of the coats, and she rocked it just by putting her hands in her pocket and putting the coat behind her with her hands in her pocket.
Yeah.
And she was never bullied again.
Yeah. It can be very powerful. And for someone who is feeling out of sorts, or it's impacting their life, like you mentioned, there are sometimes, and this is really important, and I know that you know this, sometimes you may not know how it's affecting your life, because a boss might just overlook you. Believe me, I have had managers and corporations come to me and say, we really, really, really want to be able to promote this woman. And I only work with women. So promote this woman, but she is not reflecting the image of the company. And I've even had people say, we gave her a certain amount of money, told her, here you go buy some new clothes. And she bought the same things she always bought, because she didn't know what else to buy. And so they called me in, and they handled it in a very nice way, because it can also feel a bit of shaming, as you had mentioned before. They handled it in a very nice way and put it forward to her as a perk. And what we did was we went out and looked at some of the brands that she really loved and felt comfortable in, but we made slightly different choices and paired things a little bit differently. So she still felt like her, but just a slightly more elevated version of herself, which made her happy and feel good, and made her work environment feel promising, so that they did feel confident in promoting her. So sometimes you don't know how it's going to affect, and that's why it's really important to make sure that you feel amazing every day. And that is very doable. It really is, every day when you get dressed.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I want to move on to our title of today's conversation, which is that old saying, mutton dressed up as lamb. Do you know it?
Yeah, I do know it. We don't use it a lot here in the States, but I
We
know
don't
it.
use it anymore, but we all know it, don't we?
Right. Exactly. Yes.
So
Yes.
when was the first time you heard that saying? And share with us, please, which one, if you've got a modern take on that old saying, then please do share that.
Well, I don't know if I necessarily have a modern take on it, but I have women who come to me and say, because they're now, let's say 50 or something, they're like, okay, what's age appropriate and what isn't? And what's really interesting is sometimes they worry as much about dressing too young as dressing too old as too young. They want to feel vibrant. They want to feel, like themselves, and again, empowered. but they don't want to look like they're trying too hard to be 22, and they don't want to look like they're 85 if they aren't. So, and believe me, I know some pretty cool 85-year-olds. So anybody can dress amazingly. It's really knowing yourself. It's knowing how you feel in the clothes. And I had this one woman come to me once. She was really funny. She was just starting menopause. And she said to me, I love to be a little, she used the word trampy. I really like to be a little bit trampy. She said, but I think I'm pushing it too far. So I need you to rail me in. And so I looked at some of the things that she was putting on.
I love that, by the way. I just love that.
I know. It was really, she owned it. She totally owned it. And she said, so we looked at it and she said, I wear things that are low cut, I wear things that are tight, and I wear things that are short. And I said, okay, so how about in an outfit if you just do one of those things at a time? And then you can kind of have a little bit of that, if you will, trampy feeling, but still in a little more elegant, sophisticated, I hate using the term age appropriate, but maybe more age appropriate way. I guess just more sophisticated, elegant, true to who she was kind of way, still embracing that little bit of trampiness, but not to the point where it felt like she was trying to be 20 years old. And that worked out beautifully. That just made total sense to her. But I also do have women who are like, you know what, sometimes I just feel like I'm dressing like my mother and I don't want to feel that way. How do I navigate this world of not being 25 anymore, but also not wanting to look, 90?
So can you give some tips in reference to this? So say, for example, when you said that example of the woman, I was thinking instead of having low cut tops, one can have an off the shoulder top.
Absolutely.
So you're not
Absolutely.
showing cleavage, but you're showing some skin.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's really the key, is not showing skin like everywhere on your body. So yes, right now, one shoulder tops are beautiful. So there definitely are ways to do it. You can midriff tops are really in, and that can be very tricky. I love them. It makes me wish I were 25, 30, 35, whatever, again, because I would definitely embrace those tops that are, high-waisted pants and then a little bit of the waist showing and then the crop top. Love the look. I'm not going there. That just doesn't work for me. But what, you can do is there are some dresses that have a layer underneath that makes it look like it's your skin showing, but it's really not. So yes, there are ways. And also right now I've been doing a lot of research for what's out for the seasons. Sheer dressing is very in. Some of it's pretty extreme. And so you can do something sheer, but have a pretty cami underneath it, or have a long, this obviously is for going out a little dressier, but a long sheer layer with a somewhat shorter, maybe not, up high on your thighs, but, a little above the knee, shorter length skirt underneath that's not sheer. And so you're absolutely right. There are different ways that you can do it. And then there are also things like wear gorgeous jewelry that just, doesn't have to be expensive, but just beautiful jewelry that shows off, your neckline here, or pulls the outfit beautifully together. So there are like a million different ways that you can, put together an outfit that feels amazing.
So that a woman knows that she's on the right trail in reference to doing this, how can she check that she's not falling into the wrong bucket, such as dressing younger, dressing as she did 20 years ago? What type of reflective questions can she ask herself, perhaps?
Well, this is really good because one of the things that I do with all of my clients, and I won't shop for anybody, I won't do a wardrobe consultation with anybody until they do what I call an inner beauty consultation. And what that is I want to get into, and I encourage all women to at least start thinking about this on your own. Who are you in your heart and your soul? Forget about your clothes. Don't think about your wardrobe. Nothing to do with how you like to dress or your lifestyle or anything like that. Who are you in your soul, in your essence? And then you want to express that. So for instance, I have, one of my clients, she's I call them inner beauty words. One of her inner beauty words is that she's refreshingly graceful. She's not going to be showing a ton of cleavage or really short. This is just not going to work for her. I have another client who one of her inner beauty words is that she's never truly tamed. She's going to do things that are a little more bold. She may do something that's off the, one shoulder and has a dynamic print to it or something really fascinating on it. And so what I always tell my clients is, if you're not sure about something, go back to your inner beauty words and see if what you're putting on reflects them. If it doesn't, then you want to tweak it. Because first of all, you're going to feel out of sorts when you wear it. That's how we feel our best, is when we feel like we're being authentic in our clothes. And the inner beauty words are there to help you understand how to express that. If you're someone who's bold and quirky, you're going to wear something different from someone who's serene and, graceful. There are like a million options. So that's the first step. That's the number one thing I tell people to go back to.
Thank you so much for that tip. We do appreciate it. As an image consultant, what similarities do you see in a woman's wardrobe who is going through the menopause transition?
So, as I mentioned, it's a body shift a lot of times, and often they've lost their waist a little bit. So they don't feel as comfortable in things let's say tucking things in. They may not feel as confident tucking things in because they feel like it exposes their tummy more and they feel self-conscious. So it's then learning how to be able to either tuck in a way that doesn't make them feel self-conscious, or how do you wear things untucked in a way that don't make you feel frumpy. And so that's a matter of making sure it's the right length, making sure it skims your body, as well as, of course, always being an amazing color for you. The other thing is that sometimes they were somebody who used to run cold all the time, and particularly in our climates where it can be chilly like a lot. And now they have to be prepared for hot flashes and then going back to cold again. So that back and forth thing. So obviously layers are, even more critical. I mean, where we live, I think we both do layers a lot because of our location, but layers are even more important, and making sure that when you take off the outer layer, you feel comfortable in what you're exposing underneath. Because if something feels too tight or, isn't fitting you properly, whatever, you aren't going to want to take off that outer layer. So making sure that you can shed the layers as you need to and put them back on again. So those are two things that I find I have to work with clients a lot on, refining their layers and being able to feel comfortable with any body shifts that are going on.
And in reference to everything that we've spoken about so far, a lot of this does sound like that the work needs to be done upstairs. But it's true, right? And those 3 words that you just gave us is great. Yeah. But, before that, and even, to just sort of emphasize how important it is that we create these 3 words for ourselves. What kind of mind shifts do you think is important for a woman to dedicate, to spend time upstairs looking at her mind, so that she really does take on this job of redefining her personal style to be able to create those 3 words for herself?
You hit the nail on the head. And the first thing I want to say too about the inner beauty words is that they're all positive words, because sometimes we have a tendency as women to say, well, I'm a little obsessive and I'm a little like, no, we're not going there. These are positive words. And I once had a woman say to me, what if you don't have inner beauty? Which really made me very sad to think that she thought she didn't have inner beauty. Yeah. And I said, well, what makes you think that? And she said, well, I'm not perky. I'm not bubbly. I'm not upbeat. I'm not always happy. And I said, well, maybe you're a little edgy, or maybe you're intense, or maybe you are, quietly dramatic or unconventional. I mean, there's a million different things. And those are that's all inner beauty too. So I just want to put that out there for anybody who's saying, well, I'm not just a bouncy kind of person. And the other thing is, you're right, we can stop ourselves cold with our minds. And I have been shopping with women sometimes where I will, as we enter a store and I hear them go, ugh, it's too much. oh my goodness, we'll never find anything. It's all too expensive, all that kind of thing. I stop them. Take a breath, take a breath. Visualize yourself finding something that's amazing. You don't have to be able to see that specific piece, but visualize the feeling of putting something on that makes you just your heart sing, that makes you really happy to get dressed, and then shop, because then you'll have a better, more positive experience. And the other thing is, I see this all the time, particularly for women who don't really like to shop, is they go shopping and maybe they don't see a lot that they like, but they have to buy something. So what they do is they settle for good enough. That's what I call it. You can say settling for decent, settling for okay, settling for not horrible. Those are never that's never, ever, ever what we're looking for. So if you find yourself picking it up and saying, yeah, this is fine, this is good enough.
It will do.
Feel your energy. Yeah, don't put it back. Leave the store if you have to. And wait until you can find something that's really perfect. It's worth it. We don't need a million clothes in our closet. We only need the things that make us really happy to get dressed. And it's worth it to hold out for those things that, make your heart sing, and that you can create a complete outfit and you feel delighted to get dressed every day. Always worth it to hold out for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for those shopping tips. Really appreciate it. So please tell us before we excuse me, before we end, tell us a little bit about how you transform women in 6 weeks.
Oh, in my Create Your Personal Style in 6 weeks. I love this class. It is so much fun. We just finished one. And I started it when COVID hit. I had always wanted to create a class where I was there teaching it live and I could answer specific questions and personalize things for people. And I had never had the time before. But then when, the pandemic hit, I had time. And it's been incredibly popular. And what I did was I looked at where are the places that women struggle, like knowing who you are, being able to create a good foundation to your wardrobe so you can build complete outfits. How do you choose a print so you know it looks really good on you? How do you choose shoes? Oh, that one makes everybody crazy. And how do you choose jewelry? How do you create a capsule wardrobe, a few number of pieces that you can make lots of outfits with? And I created a class on each one of those topics. And I encourage the women to ask questions, like send me a picture and say, which one of these shoes looks better with this outfit? And we'll talk about why. I'm decent at PowerPoint, so I can even go in and see if this top were 2 inches shorter, look, it would just balance your body better. And I can do all those little things for them. So it's super fun. I do like to say one thing. The name of the class is Create Your Personal Style in 6 weeks. It gives you all the information you need. Will you have a magically transformed complete wardrobe at the end of 6 weeks? Probably not, but you'll have the tools that you need, and you will have had my support during those 6 weeks to take you a long way. And then you have the information you need to continue that journey. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And it sounds like the way that you've actually structured this program is that women also get the camaraderie of each other. Because I find that a woman's compliment, when a woman compliments another woman,
yes,
it's far more profound. It has a longer lasting effect. It has a bigger effect on a woman's mind than when a man compliments a woman.
I totally agree. And yes, it's a very supportive energy. And I just did, because I've been doing this class now for 3 years, I just did the second annual reunion of the Create Your Personal Style in 6 weeks. And I invited women to come, and a whole bunch of them came, and they were sharing their successes. They were sharing something like, look, I'm getting rid of this because it's a terrible color, or whatever it might be. And they shared resources. And it was such a fun night. It's all done on Zoom. And then they got that whole list of resources. I can't tell you how many of the women wrote to me after and said, that was so fun. I loved seeing what the other women had, how they had transformed, their wardrobe to a certain extent, and the resources were helpful. And it's so much fun. It really is.
Sounds amazing. So yeah, we have got a link in that, a link for that in and around this video. So please take a look, click on it, look at the landing page and reach out to Ginger. Is there another way that people could reach out to you?
Oh, sure. They can reach out to me through my website at totalimageconsultants.com, or email me at ginger@totalimageconsultants.com. And I want to say, since you're in the UK, I have had women from the UK join the class. I've even had a couple of them come live, which means it's like, midnight or something. But you can also, you get the recording the next day. So if you can't for some reason be on the call live, you can watch the recording and then send in questions and I'll answer them during the class. So just in case, but there are some people, I remember there was one woman who says, yes, I'm sitting here on my bed. I'm watching. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's midnight where you are.
I do. I've got one class that starts at 1 a.m. on a Wednesday, and that with, Dr. Forbes Riley. So yeah, I totally get it.
I love it.
So before we go, got a quick fire round and it's only about 5 questions. Number 1 is there anything you wish that you would have done differently in the pandemic?
Oh my goodness. That's an interesting, to be honest, I don't think that there is. I really felt like I made the best of what was going on and I tried to find the silver lining in it. And so I've been okay. And I'm blessed that none of my family has, had anything severely. So I hope that's been true for other people too, but I can't think of anything I would have done differently.
That's great. You'll die with no regrets. In fact, you keep doing that on in your life. So when you look back at this video, you'll be proud of that. And because you're really like struggling to trying to find one. I'm like, no, if there's not one, there's not one. Don't struggle to find one. Vintage or designer?
For me, it would be designer.
I
think vintage is fascinating, but it's not as much my style as designer. So.
And what's your favorite designer?
I am very, I always enjoyed Joseph Ribkoff. He's a Canadian designer. And no, this is actually Madeline, which I like. But Joseph Ribkoff is one of my favorite designers.
And if you got a second?
And a second one. Lately I've actually, and I know they also have this in the UK, I've been enjoying the Cabi, C-A-B-I line of clothing. They've really had some beautiful things and they did a great job during the pandemic of keeping things available, which was tricky during the pandemic. So yeah, I really enjoy, I'm not talking, really fancy, super expensive designers in either of these cases. Most of my clients are kind of middle of the road like I am. So yeah, Cabi is a nice line.
And going past fashion now, Apple or PCs?
Oh, Apple. I have an Apple.
And what was your, or if you, I don't know if you changed them, if you swapped them out, but would you mind sharing your 3 inner beauty words with us?
Oh, I'd be happy to. And there's actually 4 of them. So my first one, it always feels embarrassing to say this word, but my first word is exquisite. So for me, everything has to feel totally pulled together, completely. Yeah, it just has to fit properly, all those things. So exquisite, controlled fire. You'll love this. It's, I'm a redhead, so fiery, but I'm also English. So we have that control there. I'm not over the top fiery. I'm definitely controlled fire. So this is as wild, as crazy as I get with a print. Kindly diplomatic. Very, very, very important to me. And that's also how I lead my classes, as I'm always very kindly diplomatic in the information that I impart to everyone and feedback that I give. And the last one, which I also think is a very English trait, is I'm seriously determined. I know you're determined also. We talked about this earlier. Seriously determined. So I need very clean lines. I need, I can't do a lot of frills and fluff, and it doesn't work for me. I have lots of clients for whom that works. For me, nope, has to have nice, straight, clean lines.
And how does diplomatic happen in the wardrobe as well?
It's a softer. So for instance, when I really want to exude kindly diplomatic, it will be in softer fabrics, slightly softer colors, nothing that's going to be standoffish. I want to appear approachable. And so the kindly diplomatic will always be in gentler designs like that. Nothing too stiff or sharp or harsh. Or what?
Or bold.
Or too bold. Right. Exactly. Yes. Good question.
And can you share your morning ritual?
Oh my goodness. All right. So let's see. I have 6 cats, so they they take a lot of my time. So my morning ritual is get up and do all my bathroom stuff, and then I take care of my cats. So I feed them and fix all their boxes and all that kind of thing. And then I come down to my office and I get everything sorted away, and so the rest of the day can run calmly. And then I work out. I have a Zoom session I do 6 days a week, and so I work out every day, and then I'm off to the races with my day.
Well, it's good job that I did some different quick round fire questions, because my standard fire round questions is cat or dog.
Oh, now
And
you
you
know.
answered it anyway. And one question I forgot to ask you that I wanted to, what was the first item you bought that you felt was an item of going in, an item of age, an item that you, not necessarily your mother wore it, but you recognized, oh, this is a grown woman item. Do I
Yeah.
want to buy this?
That's a really interesting question. I've never been asked that question before. And the first thing that pops into my head is many years ago, remember I mentioned that, I finally found someone who could I think I mentioned this, who could train me and teach me what I needed to know so that I felt confident getting dressed, because I struggled through my teens and my 20s. And this woman, her daughter actually was a designer for Nicole, name just went out of my head, but one of the designers out there. And we got invited to the fashion show in New York. And I remember going to this fashion show wearing this amazing, gorgeous jacket in an animal print. And this was the 80s, although animal print's been in always, and a pair of black, very skinny pants with ankle boots. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is what it's like to really feel pulled together. I didn't have my inner beauty words at the time, but now I look back and it was perfect for my inner beauty words. I felt like $1,000,000. I felt like, okay, I just graduated. This is how I want to look and feel all the time. So yeah, that was a turning point. I was probably 31 or 32, something like that at the time. And that I still remember that outfit. It was amazing.
I love that word you just used, graduated.
Yeah, I did. I graduated.
I love that. I graduated into womanhood. I
Yes.
love that. That's wonderful. And lastly, is there a question that I didn't ask you that you wish I had?
Oh my, you've asked so many amazing questions. You know what? I have to be honest. I don't think that there is. I think you've been very complete. And, I just encourage women to don't ever settle for good enough. If you got nothing else out of this, just make sure that you look at something and you go, I'm excited to wear this. This makes me smile. It sparks joy. It feels beautiful. I don't know, whatever makes you happy and captures that. Just don't say, oh, this is okay. We want it to make you feel amazing. So, Dionne, I think you've done a great job. It's really, really fun to talk with you. You've asked some questions I've never been asked before, which is amazing because I've been doing this a really long time. So awesome. I love it. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Now I'm going to stop streaming, but please stay on. Thank you so much. Everybody else who's watching this and watching this on replay, please share. Please click on Ginger's link. She's fabulous. As you can see, she will dress you and make you feel that you belong in the clothes that you're wearing, which is important. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Take care.